the forgotten hero of the North, the true story of Togo. In the winter of 1925, the small town of Nome, Alaska, faced a deadly threat. A diphtheria outbreak had begun to spread among the children, and the town's only supply of antitoxin serum was hundreds of miles away in Anchorage. With temperatures plummeting to minus 50 degrees Fahrenheit and blizzards cutting off all access by ship or plane, the people of Nome seemed doomed. Officials decided on a desperate plan to relay the serum by dog sled across nearly 700 miles of frozen wilderness. It would take more than 20 mushers and over 100 dogs to complete the journey. Today, most people know the name Balto the dog who led the final leg into Nome, but few remember the small, scrappy husky who did the hardest part, Togo. Togo belonged to Leonhard Seppala, a Norwegian-born musher who had trained sled dogs for years. Togo wasn't supposed to be a hero. He was small, mischievous, and constantly escaping as a pup. Seppala once gave him away, only for Togo to leap through a glass window and run miles home. Eventually, Seppala realized the stubborn dog had a spirit like no other. When the call for help came in January 1925, Seppala and Togo were chosen to cover the most dangerous stretch of the relay, 260 miles across the icebound Bering Sea and through the treacherous mountains. Most mushers traveled about 30 miles. Seppala and Togo would do more than 8 times that. Through blinding snow and howling wind, the team pressed on. At one point, they had to cross the frozen Norton Sound, where the ice could break at any moment. Seppala could hear it groaning beneath them. When the wind shifted, pushing the sled toward open water, Togo led the team through the storm, following a scent only he could detect. The ice cracked behind them just as they reached solid ground. After 5 days and nearly no sleep, Seppala handed off the serum to the next musher. Togo had covered the longest and most perilous leg of the entire journey, about 260 miles of the total 674. By the time they returned home, Togo was exhausted, his paws torn and bleeding. But Nome's children would live. When the serum finally arrived, the press celebrated Balto, who had led the final 50 miles into town. Statues were built, stories were told, but Seppala knew who the true hero was. It was Togo who saved Nome, he said quietly. Balto was the dog who finished the race. Togo lived out his final years in Maine, loved and cared for. When he died in 1929, Seppala buried his body on his property, overlooking the trail they had once conquered together. Years later, historians and dog lovers worked to restore Togo's legacy. Today, his preserved body stands in the Iditarod Trail Sled Dog Museum, and his story has finally been told in books and film. Nearly a century later, Togo's spirit still runs in the wind over the Alaskan snow, the small dog who refused to be ordinary, and in doing so, became immortal.